Hi guys, I just wanted to join just tonight just to talk a little bit about something that I learned this a long time ago, and I wanted to share it with everyone because this is not new to me, and I'm sure for some of the people listening it's not new to them. But sometimes you listen in and what you kind of see is people keep losing. And I'm not saying that you're a loser. You're probably a very successful person, but a lot of people keep losing in life because they haven't figured out the rules of life. And a lot of people take the red pill and the blue pill and the black pill, and they don't fully understand what it meant. Before the Matrix, there was always the red pill. It's just that people, classified as a red pill. I mean, red pill is just understanding the rules. That's all it is. The blue pill is following the rules without trying to understand them. So it's like someone just drifting in and following what's there without fully understanding. The black pill is when someone, truly sees that the rules don't serve them well. And what I have found out is through looking at this is that a lot of people don't understand that, and they don't understand what an alpha is. And what I'm going to try to show people that an alpha is situational. The alpha is not someone that, a man that is what we define him today as. The alpha was always different because an alpha is just a dominant male. And what I'm going to try to show is that because we don't define alpha properly and because we don't understand the rules, a lot of us are unsuccessful. And let's start with showing you just the caveman and the Zulu, the Zulu warrior. Now, back in maybe prehistoric times, these guys were alphas because of the fact that, listen, an alpha was violent because an alpha had to protect himself. An alpha had to really, it was individualistic. So an alpha had to definitely be the strongest man around. And, hopefully he could, hunt animals, pick berries, and he would just find women and beat up another guy and take that woman from him. I'm not sure if he reared his children. I'm not sure. And I tend to believe that he probably did not rear his children. And what I'm going to show you is that a lot of people who you see are unsuccessful in life are actually just individualistic alphas. Some people want to call them sigmas because they kind of like stay on their own. But what it is that this alpha worked well when the rules of the game were different. Now, when you move forward, now you have, the tribe, the birth of the tribe. In the tribe, basically, to be an alpha in the tribe was a bit different because you had to lead someone. So then you had different things where you had to be the strongest man and you had to inspire others to follow you. And all these tribes worked well, and these alphas were the leaders, and basically the tribe protected the weak, the ones who are not so weak, and the strong. So the tribe works well. We see that with a pack of lions. We see that with, a pride of lions, and we see that with a pack of wolves. But the individualistic alpha does not do well in that new setting. And what I'm trying to say is a lot of us are stuck in the individualistic alpha. And because we're stuck into that mode, we become sigmas, you cast offs. Just like in the if you watch those Natural Geographic shows, you see that there are lions who are just on their own and they just roam. And after a while, they figure out that to protect themselves against hyenas and take down bigger kill like buffaloes, they actually do need to be in a pride. And so I'll try to show later on that actually the individualistic alpha is the one that is the most unsuccessful now in this current day society because they're playing by an old set of rules. And then when you go forward, right, and you look at the birth of the community. Now the community is something that is a bit more than a tribe because that's where tribes amalgamate into something, and then you now have the community leader. Now the community leader is not just similar to the individual into the tribe leader. The tribe leader had to be strong. The community leader had to seek consensus. And so what a lot of things, why, and this is one of the things that we have to understand, and it's part of the real red pill in life, is that a lot of times we don't we see other people do things properly and it works well, but we don't copy it because somehow we feel that we can do it a different way. But you know what? One of the things I've learned, being in my middle age now, is that, you know what? If someone has gone through all of the experience before, leverage it and try to improve it. But trying to do it your own way, it's like someone trying to reinvent the wheel. And so the community leader figured out how to find consensus between the warrior, the merchant, the market seller, and also, the fisherman and all those guys. And that's why the community leader, similar today, our politicians, are not your strongest guys. And those guys, have earned wealth, and they do trade-offs. So the merchant becomes rich, he gets a good office and power and all of that stuff. And that's how life worked. What I'm finding a lot with us within the Black community is that many of us are either here or here. And that's why, you go to a community, there are gangs that run the community. Gangs are tribes. And these gangs destroy the community because a gang is not following the rules of the community. The community needs the police, it needs city hall, it needs all those things to function. And if the community does not have all of these things, then the community falls. And then when people say, look at the state of the Black community, it's because we're still a tribal set of people. And I come from Jamaica, and listen, in Jamaica, you go to Kingston, Kingston, and you can go to, several different places. You can go to Montego Bay and all of those different places. And what you'll find is the communities are, the middle class communities are run by the police and the fire department, all that. But when you go to the ghettos or the garrisons, they're actually run by small corner groups. And sometimes the gang at the top of the road, they call it, and the gang at the bottom road, they are fighting each other. And because of that, if you see the state of those communities, it's disgusting. Because guess what? Tribes cannot run a community. Then you move to the nation. Now, nation is when communities amalgamate and become strong, and nations do do serious things. And this is how Africa was conquered. This was how the New World was conquered, because people figured out how to work together. And one of the things I like I like the picture at the top right hand corner. Look how short the leaders are compared to the soldiers. They figured out how, through consensus, through deal making, to have big, strong individual alphas submit to their will. And what we're seeing today is that this is how success happens. Now, we don't have to worry about the nation. What we have to worry about is our role in the community. Because as a nation, that's bigger than us. Now, when you look at what happened to us as when we're slaves, we had the rights of a domesticated animal. It was chattel slavery. Now, I hate to focus on slavery because it does not benefit us. It benefits us to give us context, but it doesn't benefit us to look for blame. At this point, we had the rights of a domesticated animal. But what happened? The rules changed. And I just put the NBA there because it's there. But the rules changed because the NBA changed the rules from now and then. And when the rules change, people have to respond to those rules. And what happened? The next step was segregation. Now we had the rights of a lesser citizen. And, separate water fountain, segregated schools, horrible infrastructure, all of that. That was a new vestige. Then guess what happened? The rules changed again. And then you now figure out now you're just thrown off the plantation. You're now out of segregation. And the problem is, how do you adapt to the new rules? And this has hit a lot of people for years, and they haven't figured out how to adapt to these new rules. Because what happens to them is that they're still operating either as an individualist alpha, or they're operating in the realm as a tribe member. And being a tribe member or individualist alpha, it does not work in this puzzle, because as we saw, nations defeated these tribes, because it was always going to be unfair. Because when Britain or Portugal or Spain, with the power of a nation, went against a tribe, obviously they're going to defeat them. And it's what is true back then is still true now. And so when someone asks themselves, what is the biggest obstacle in my life? The thing is that if your answer is slavery or racism, my answer to you is, this shows you that you don't really understand the rules. Because right now, what's happening now, this is the complicated way of looking at the red pill. So as we said, the blue pill, you just accept the status quo, you go with it, and you support the system. You can actually win in the system doing that. The red pill is that you see that the system doesn't benefit you, and you have an awakening and all that. And then the red pill is that you see that, the things are set against you. The thing is that a black person who is blue pill, who just does the status quo and works with it, works well if they're in an environment that has a set of rules that benefit them. But the problem is that some of the rules that are in our communities are tribal rules. No snitching. The no snitching means it's a tribal thing, because what you're saying basically, your loyalty is not to the community, your loyalty is to the gang or the tribe, and all of these things. So it's self-defeating. Now, an easy way to look at it is, blue pill, you're not interested in understanding the game. Red pill, you learn the rules. Black pill, you give up, right? My thing is that we all need to learn the rules and understand, because that's how we win. And one of the things that I've learned over years is this old Japanese saying that a man has three faces. The one that he faces the world, the second face that you show your close friends, and the third one that no one ever sees. I tend to think now, because of social media, people tend to utilize the other face, the one that people never see. If they're anonymous, they tend to use the one that no one sees a bit more, and because that's a way of them expressing themselves. But why is this important? Why it's important is that the rules of the game is that you have to look at life as how I am with my friends and family, how I am with my work, because that's going to be very important with you, work and all of that stuff, and how I am to the greater world, the greater community. And one of the things that I found why a lot of people are unsuccessful is that they don't tend to bifurcate, or this maybe trifurcate, between all of these faces. They tend to be the same person throughout all. It's back in the 90s, we call it keeping it real. But when you kept it real, you became broke. And it's just like now, stay woke, go broke. And one of the things is that one has to learn how to balance these three faces in this world, because a lot of us don't understand. And that's why we go back to the puzzle pieces. What a lot of people don't understand is, to fit in a puzzle, you have to be, a lot of times, both a follower and a leader. And a lot of people don't know how to follow, and they don't understand how to tuck their pride in and follow. And because of that, they'll never be given a chance to lead in any meaningful way. And so when, one of the big things is when someone goes and they have a difficult boss, if they go toe to toe to that boss, they're not benefiting themselves. They actually will lose that job, or they'll have a boss who will be at, there. And I'll tell you, that happens all the time. But a lot of other people who have grown up in a different way, they have figured out the rules. The rules is that you have to literally learn how to, they would say you have to kiss ass before you can kick ass. And if you don't understand that, then you won't move and you won't progress. And juggling these three faces is very difficult. And it's swallowing your pride and understanding the long game. And a lot of us don't have a long game. We tend to drift. And what happens to us because we drift is that we don't get success. And you know what, guys? I have spent almost 15 years in the corporate world. And I've gotten four promotions in those 15 years. And all of them came through swallowing my pride, working hard. And guess what? After a while, they trust you to be a leader once that happens. And, I want to sidetrack to something that I really want to talk about, because I see it happen a lot online in YouTube. A lot of men get upset with women and the state of feminism, and they get upset because they feel that women are against them. But what they don't understand is their function in the world is to build and provide. And once they do that, their problems start to solve themselves. But if you don't build or provide, you're not seen as being a functioning man. And that's a big secret that a lot of people know, but they need to understand. And the guy who earns a lot of money, he took a lot of disrespect at work. He took it early in his career. But guess what? He took it and he understood that what the long game was. And a lot of us need to learn that. And I think that once you get into the corporate world, it does not mean you become a walkover or a pushover or that. No, that's not what it is. But you become respectful. You become humble. You delay anger. You don't. And a matter of fact, the best thing is never to show anger. And you work with people. And that will be a big lesson for anyone as life goes on. And one thing I want to say is, a lot of people had the benefits of parents who were failing, who were poor or abandoned. A lot of them tried to pass off that failure due to racism. A lot of times it did not happen because of racism. And if you find yourself now trying to pass off your failure as racism, my question I've always asked people, if racism is holding us down, why is it that these men are billionaires? My question is, for each of these men that are billionaires, was it that the rules were different for them? And the truth is, we all know that the answer is that the rules were not different for them. The real thing is that some of us, our parents conditioned us, and family and friends conditioned us to be poor. Because what they told us was that there was something bigger than us that we could not manage. And it was institutional racism. It was all of those things. And those burdens did not prepare us for the future. And one thing I'd like to say, and I don't say this with pride and beaming or anything like that. What I'll tell you is, if you look at the earnings of non-black immigrants, what you'll find is, and you can dig it up anywhere, non-black immigrants out-earn ADOS, FBA blacks. And why does that happen? And I'm going to tell you, there's a lie. They don't come over to countries on the boats and then within 10 years they're earning more. That's not true. They actually come over, a lot of them, they're from the upper middle class or the middle class of these countries, and they come over actually educated already. Some of them are in university, and they come over and they basically are set up for success. And it's so strange. They come from a third world country, but they come over already red pilled. And the reason is that they grew up in places where there was poverty, and their parents rose out of poverty, and they figured out the secret was to work hard, keep your head down. They learned how to work in a structure, how to fit into the puzzle, and they're doing well. I always find it funny that the Ghanaian folks are the highest earning. Ghana is actually a very poor country, but these are guys who would have come over and they would have figured out that, listen, for us to escape dire poverty in Ghana and to reach the middle class or upper middle class in Ghana, our parents had to work hard. We had to sacrifice. They come over to Canada, the US, all of those different places, and the UK, and guess what? Then that formula works everywhere, right? And these guys who come over in refugee boats, within a generation, they're actually richer than black Americans. And why is it that? The same thing. It's the same formula. They will take out much longer time. But the reason why it happens is they saw dire poverty, and they figure out after a while, if they take a job, work hard, swallow their pride, do well at the job, they'll actually move into the middle class. And it happens all the time. And when we look at incomes, and this is 2020, looking at 2020 income, Asians out earn whites, whites out earn Hispanics, and Hispanics out earn blacks. And this is a function of, take for instance this, and look at this. Whites should be the most red-pilled of all because they know all the rules. But there's a difference between whites and Asians. And, years ago, this happened with another group at the turn of the century, is that there's always this minority that really is just ultra red-pilled. They're working hard. They're working hard beyond everyone else. They see the light, they know what they want, and they're going to work towards it. And so while, the regular American or Canadian, in Canada it's hockey, or, someone maybe, dancing, hockey, or even soccer, while, parents think, hey, I want my kids to have fun, there's some parents who are saying, no, I want my kids to focus on school, and, they end up earning more money than other people. But what I find is that if we as blacks don't figure out and get red pilled, then we'll always be the permanent underclass. And that's sad, because I would hate to be the person that when someone says to me, why are you so poor? And you would say racism, when that can't be the answer every year for the last 60 years. It can't be. And we have to get to that point where we figure out that the answer lies within ourselves. And we have to stop being a tribal people. And because that does not work. So, one of the things I learned is success is simple. Make a plan, work hard, keep your nose clean. Now, one thing I'll tell anyone about this, the plan sounds simple. Anybody can write a plan down. Implementation is hard, because one of the things is working hard is difficult. Like, you have to be focused. And as I said, you have to understand how you fit in the puzzle of an organization, even if it's small. Even if you're working at a fast food, you have to figure out how you fit into that. And keep your nose clean means, trying to follow the laws in every way possible. And one of the things I'll say to a lot of people is, a lot of people have not learned how to deal with others. They have not learned, how to deal with conflict resolution, all of that stuff. And it's sad because, I've always been saddened by when I hear people use the N-word to call each other, or the adage of bitch or hoe, because that shows you have no respect for yourself and you have no respect for the other person. And that's destroying. You see, those are the things that destroy communities. They actually destroy tribes also. And we end up in this situation that we don't make a lot of friends. We just keep making enemies everywhere we go. And sometimes just being a nice person, working hard, doing all of that stuff, you actually get ahead. Now, I wanted to go a little bit into, I wanted to talk about the types of men that I think we encounter. And I'm just trying to put them together. Like, you have gangbangers and street dudes. A lot of those guys are still tribal because they are still in that mode of we are more loyal to the tribe than we are to the laws and the community and all that. And these guys destroy the community. They completely destroy the community. Then you have homeless dudes. And these are what we consider more individualistic people who are unsuccessful. They have never figured out how to work in a tribe and definitely won't get to the community level. Then you have low skilled, but they can't hold down a job. These guys are more working in a community, but they're not functioning well. And then you have low skilled, but hard working. These are the guys that have the opportunity to be upwardly mobile, because if you're hardworking, you can start your own business. I could just think of a plumber or a welder or someone like that. Later, if you're low skill, you'll never be a plumber or a welder, but you're driving a truck and, you work hard enough, you could probably buy the truck, lease the truck, start your own trucking company and actually do well. Certified technicians, that's the plumbers, the electricians, all that. Those guys are the guys who are really doing well. A lot of them are doing well. And that's a great avenue for a lot of young men. I can't discount this. This is like a great avenue for a lot of people. And then you have the office workers, white collar. That's me. I'm an office worker, white collar. And we like, a lot of us don't earn similar or just as much as their technician guys. There's not much difference in it. And then you have the high value man who, you know, these are the guys who are really high earners. And I wanted to look at the family situation. If you look at the family situation, you can see a lot of the, you know, the guys with a low skill, not, you know, all of that stuff, they normally grow up with single parents. You'll find more the people who are certified and office workers and high value are, you know, they had both parents involved. Type of neighborhood, you can see it. Low income for your other guys, because the family and the community that you grew up in is your biggest incubator. And if you grew up in a community that was in shambles, you're not incubated for the greater society. And there's a lot of deep programming that has to happen. And I just tried to look at, you know, their education level attained, and obviously the only ones that would have really done post high school would have been the certified technicians, office workers, and the high value man, right? And, you know, want to look at the marital status, because this is how legacy happens. If you look at it, the lower level dudes, the tribal and individualistic dudes, they don't know how to incubate and have a family. They don't. And a lot of them become, because I have a neighbor who he and his wife divorced each other, and that guy came by for his child every week, took his child out, took his child to his son to soccer, took his child to karate class, all of that stuff. And I saw how a divorced set of people really parent well. When you have a single guy who says, hey, my baby mother won't make me see the child, I haven't seen my child for weeks or years, I'm not involved in my child's life, you're a loser. And that is something that needs to change, because what you're doing is you're setting up a legacy of poverty. And if you look above, all those certified technicians, office called high value, they're more likely going to be married. That's a no-brainer. And so they will have a legacy. They're incubating their children for success. While guess what? The other guys aren't. And, you know, just to top it off, you know, these are your individualistic guys and they're tribal guys, you know. These tribal guys think that they're winning the game, but they're not. They're actually losing. And I know none of these guys will ever watch this, because guys like that have no interest in watching YouTube, and they'll know, and I doubt if they can ever get to 28 minutes into a video that's like this. I know these guys, as we said, prison or early grave bound, right? Then you have, and as I said, they're not on YouTube, and these guys, it's so difficult for them to escape the streets. I've actually never seen this. It may happen for someone, but I've never seen them escape the streets. And the truth is, they do destroy the community, because they wreak havoc, complete havoc. Then you have these guys. These are the individualistic guys. You know, they are just on their own. You know, way back when, they'll probably be gatherers, you know, just gathering berries and eating berries. And these guys would have been successful back in caveman days, but they're just not suited for now. Neither are the gangbangers, right? And, you know, these guys will, after a while, with, you know, substance abuse or mental health issues, and it's incredibly hard for them to come back to this. These guys, you know, I don't want to call them losers, because, you know, these guys really suffer, right? And it's a lot of times it's that they grew up in a horrible life, they took the substance abuse, and it's hard for them to come back from it. Then you have these guys. Now, these are just, I consider them the low skilled guys, you know, and they're not focused. They're more concerned, I think, with enjoying life. These are the type of guys who would complain about women and about how horrible women are. And the reason is because they're not real men. Because if they were real men, then they would set themselves up properly, build themselves into someone, And you know, like they said, it was a movie, Field of Dreams. Build and they will come. And they're not ready to build themselves. And these guys are the guys that can move from this level, you know, because low income, because they're in and out of jobs, because they don't work hard, you know, and they're going to leech off of their own mother or a baby mama, and they're going to clog up the child support court, right? But they can move to these guys, which are low skilled guys. And the thing about it is that a lot of people disrespect these low skilled guys who are security guards, work in warehouses, drivers, all that. They disrespect them because they say, hey, you know, but these guys really do earn decent money. You know, these guys are your guys that are on the scale now to really be a man. And these guys over years, with ingenuity, a plan, working hard, keeping their nose clean, can own businesses in the future. And I will never throw shade on these guys. I respect them because I've seen these guys out earn a lot of people. I know guys like this who out earn me by 10 multiples of 10, because after a while they built their businesses. Like a story of a guy. He used to drive a delivery van, and then he leased one truck. Then he got a contract. Then he started his own business, leased another truck, got a driver, and after a while he got a nice contract for 5 vans, and now he's sitting pretty, right? And these guys are homeowners normally, right? I mean, hopefully they don't sit in the rental trap and that for years, right? And as I said, these guys will never complain about women or black women or anything like that, because guess what? They're providers. And providers are pick and choose who they want. They're not limited by anything. They can choose a woman of any race, and because they come to the table with something, right? Then you have these guys. Now, these are your top level guys, right? Listen, these guys are, you can't throw shade on these guys ever, right? These guys do real tough jobs, right? And they are the ones that earn quite a bit. And these guys are respected. They're skilled. I'll never throw shade on any guy like this, right? Because as we said, those guys are the ones that actually earn quite a bit. And these guys, they get to pick up the women, because women want men who are providers. And I'm not focused on women. I want to tell you a little story. One day, when I was a teenager, very late teen, I was probably 18 or 19. And it was one Saturday, I was going to university at the time. I said to my friend, hey, we're going to a party with girls later in the evening. Man, I just want to, meet someone nice there. And a friend said to me, listen, you have the wrong idea. He said, listen, if you want women, you have to build yourself. And he's come with me, and we went to this field. And when we went to that field, there were some guys playing soccer. And I couldn't go on the field and play soccer with them, right? These guys were skilled and all that stuff. And guess who was watching those guys? Some girls. And I said to myself at that point that sitting down pining over women is stupid. It's actually doing something, creating something, building something, participating in something, and then they will come. And I will never focus on women. When I started dating, I learned that back then I was fat back then, and guess what? I went to the gym, spent almost a year and a half to lose a lot of weight, build muscle, and that time I was employed and all of that stuff. And within maybe 4 months I met my wife. And that's one of the important things that we need to see. We can't focus on women. We have to focus on building ourselves. And as I said, these guys earn a lot of money. Like 6 years after being a technician, you're in the over $100,000 bracket. And when these guys, they get a lot more money when they work for when they start up their own companies and all that stuff. These are the real guys, man. And they normally own homes, and listen, they can afford a stay-at-home wife. These guys can get submission. The other guys before, the ones that are low skill, until they get higher, they won't get submission, because if you earn just as much as your wife, you're not going to get submission. And then you have these guys. Now I like Stanley from The Office, but these guys don't earn anything much different than these guys, right? Office workers, like same salary, same situation. The only the difference is that these guys have less chances of, you know, getting injured on a job. That's all it. But they do suffer more from diabetes because they sit down most of the time. So I mean, this is a sedentary stuff. So people have their choice, right? Four-year university or 2 or 3 year trainer or technician school. What's important is that you're skilled enough that someone can trust you to lead a team, to work on something complex. That's all it is. Then you have these guys, the high value men, right? These are the men that we all try to define, right? The pilots, the doctors, the lawyers, the judges, all of that, those people. These are people top of their game, right? These guys earn up to $500,000 a year and all of that stuff. Like, it's a dream for all of us, right? Like, even me, it's a dream for me. You know, you get to this stage, you call the shots, right? But I'm not looking to aim. Like, my aim when I was in my 20s was to get to either the skilled guy or the office worker guy. That was my aim. I mean, I wish I could probably aim for this higher set right now. But as I said, the guys who I want to reach are the guys who are still in the low wage, low income, and maybe not learning how to deal with companies, how they fit in a puzzle, because those are the guys that need the most help. And you know, these guys are having it great, right? But I wanted to cover all of this, and I wanted to sum it up all with saying this, right? The key that I want people to understand is, if we want to get ahead in life, we have to understand the rules of life. And as men, our most important contribution is providing, protecting, and problem solving, and also building. Those things are the most important things we can contribute. If we don't contribute those things, and we don't find it in ourselves to do these necessary items, we'll never be respected. And we can't build ourselves by building from a community. It happens bottom up. You have to build yourself, and as individuals, you will help to build a community. But it won't happen by a support group. It won't happen by any of that. It will happen by people working hard at their plan. And my hope is that a lot of people will be inspired to work on their plan, improve themselves. Because as we said, the alpha in this world, these are the true alphas, are the ones who develop skills, become leaders, and are trusted enough that people are willing to give them, you know, up to $500,000. And the real top ones, they'll give them millions of dollars a year, because they are at the top of their game. Now, the funny thing is that these guys are not the alphas that would have been the alphas back at the start. They're not cavemen. Like, they could not manage that caveman game. But an alpha is very situational. And this situation in our current world requires you to work hard and figure out how to manage organizations. If you can do that, then you'll be a success. Thanks, guys.